let's not rewrite history. Doesn't help anyone. And then you see the picture there is Chromie and everything is on fire. Not good.
Oh my god.
I made him mad.
God, you guys, you provided me with a ton of feedback that can't be ignored. I've got loads to do. There's hundreds of people flying into my country in the next 4 days for a live show on a stage with lots of WoW personalities. But I can't let this...
Oh, another thing I wasn't invited to. Can you believe that? Can you believe... So I don't get invited to the beta thing. I saw they were doing Streamer of the Year. Guess who wasn't on there? I don't know. I don't know who that was. And I forgot there was one other thing that I didn't get invited to too. Like, this is insane. I never get invited to anything.
And in fact, I'm going to break this up into 2 parts. One,
I'm going to mute notifications, okay, guys?
Content. And 2, it's actually a massive
Whoa.
But I can't let this slide. And in fact, I'm going to break this up into 2 parts. One, we need to provide Zach with more content. But I can't let this slide. And in fact, I'm going to break this up into 2 parts. One, we need to provide Zach with more content. And 2, it's actually a massive topic that we need to get through here. So you'll see I'm not on BFA. I am on BFA here. I just respect my Azerite armor. This is where you do it, by the way. It's down at the dock. If you're on the Horde, if you're Alliance, reroll. So... Let's look at this, because people are trying to rewrite history. Why? What are you trying to do that for? Why are you trying to pretend that something else happened than what it did? I get that it's more comforting to say, well, actually, Legion was the same, Mike. Like, look at these Azerite traits and the Azerite armor and all that kind of stuff, but Legion was, like, pretty much the same, dude. You know, you don't expect in the early days of WoW to get some decent class development. The first tier of stuff's always shit. I have no idea why you've convinced yourself that something in a video game should be shit until like 2 years down the line.
That's the dumbest fucking logic that I've ever heard. Not what Preach is saying, but what Preach is saying that other people are saying. That's the dumbest goddamn thing ever. Right? And this is, it's absolutely, is raised volume, is it actually too low, or are you guys just fucking deaf? Like, can I get an actual mod in here to tell me what's going on? Can I get a mod? I don't believe anybody. Volume is fine. Okay, great. Thank you very much. I will turn it up by, let's say 10%, okay?
I find that really irritating. But
okay.
It's simply not true. And that's my problem with it. You're trying to change the facts to suit what you want to be real. And that's not what's happening here. So what I thought we'd do is we'd go down memory lane together. How fun's that? So let's jump into live. I'm on my mage. That was my main at the start of Legion. And we're going to relive what happened in Legion so that we can compare it to the new BFA system. That's all we're doing here. I'm not trying to push you one way or the other. I'm just trying to make sure we're all on the same page and we're talking about the right thing. So, what happened at the start of Legion? Well, level 100, we got ourselves, first of all, a brand new artifact weapon. We got a brand new artifact weapon, which came with it a brand new ability. Now, the Fire Mage artifact weapon, I would say, is one of the more boring ones. So I think we're on a good slate here to show you the class development that I am talking about that I feel is lacking in BFA. So I got Phoenix Flames, wonderful ability, mixed in perfectly with how a Fire Mage works, which is chaining 2 crits together and then being able to fire off an instant cast Pyroblast. That's like the main focus of a Fire Mage at a super basic level. So I got this new spell immediately as the expansion started. No new talent, didn't matter. Got this brand new spell, 3 charges on it, instant cast, looks cool.
That's what, listen to what he just said. Looks cool. I remember I went into Target and I got like a one of those things, like not a rake. It was like a rake and a shovel, and I was spinning around in circles at Target whenever I found out that Titan's Grip was added in the game. I even took a picture of it. I can put it on Twitter. Making things look cool is really important. People want to look cool. Like these Phoenix Flames, like these bonus artifact abilities, effectively worked as what you got whenever you leveled up. Right? I mean, that's kind of how it worked.
It's a fucking Phoenix. and it went off and it did its thing and it guaranteed to crit, and then I could mix that into my combustion with a big DPS cooldown, and I could think about those charges, right? As a better player, we say, okay, I've got my DPS coming up soon, I've got things like Rune of Power, I've got combustion coming, I want to put as many pyroblasts into that as possible. Having this extra instant cast, always critical ability, a big help during that time. Works super well. Awesome.
It's an amazing
now we
ability.
Got that at level 100 to start leveling, right? That was the you bought the game and there it was. And then we started working through our traits. Now, let's go through them, shall we, and see what we're talking about here. What's this one? Increased fire damage. Boring.
Wow.
Agree? Super boring. And no one is going to convince me. And I think this is where my team, because there's this weird fucked up, and it's so upsetting because we're all after the same thing, right? We want the game to be as good as it possibly can.
I actually want to get that hoodie. I really like that hoodie.
That's why I spend hours and hours testing the game, right? And that people decide to create this us versus them. So right now on the forums, and certainly with the Master Looter discussion, there's this Mythic Raiders.
Listen to this. Listen to this.
Everybody else who are saying, Mythic Raiders going, we don't like it. And everybody else who seemingly doesn't really use it is saying, yeah, you do. It's really good for you. And we're like, no.
See, this is the thing, is these dumb fucks think that the people that are Mythic raiding, they know better than they do. You click on their profile and they've done 3 bosses in LFR. They've never stepped foot in a Mythic raid unless it was from 3 expansions ago. All these people are talking about what they know, how they think the game should be. They don't even know it. It's like somebody comes in there and you're talking about them about spaceships, and they're trying to give you advice about spaceships. Meanwhile, they're at home making race cars. The little ones, not the ones that you drive, just like the ones that you put down a ramp. And they're telling you how to make a rocket. They don't know a damn thing.
It's not. And then it starts this war. Why? Why do you want to fight each other? I don't get it. We're all trying to make the game as best as it can possibly be.
Here's why. Is because these people that don't like it, they don't like the Mythic Raiders because they feel like Mythic Raiders are gatekeepers to content, and because these Mythic Raiders are, you know, above them, they want to see anything happen that's going to make Mythic Raiders look bad or make them unhappy. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's going to hurt them in the long run or it's bad for the game, they will still want it because they don't like Mythic Raiders. That's what it is. They feel like Mythic Raiders are gatekeepers, and they don't like them on a fundamental level. It makes perfect sense. You just have to look at the psychology of it.
So let's move through then. So, Fireball, 12%. Boring, right? Increase the range of Dragon's Breath by 3 yards.
I like that. That's awesome.
These are the kind of traits people like to forget about, or probably more accurately, have no idea exist. Certainly if you started later in Legion and you already had massive amounts of artifact knowledge, many of you probably just clicked through. I know I did on some of my alts, just clicked through everything and aren't really sure exactly what all these traits did. You probably thought a lot of them were passives, or you just didn't notice that they'd done anything because you had them immediately.
They don't do shit.
Now you might say 3 yards.
Most of them
Dragon's
don't do
Breath
shit,
on 3
honestly.
yards is a big deal. It really is. It makes you think about your positioning way more. You hit more adds with it, and it's something you want to be at range for, but you need to be in a certain spot. So it's a pretty big deal for a fire mage. Dragon Breath is.
Okay.
What's this one? Ignite damage. Don't really care. Then we got our first golden trait.
Oh.
Phoenix Reborn. Ignite has a chance to erupt in flame, taking extra
big.
damage. Boring. Don't give a shit.
Okay.
I can't control it.
Okay,
it
never
just
mind.
does its thing.
I don't even
However,
know what it does.
Reduces the remaining cooldown of Phoenix Flame by 10 seconds. So periodically, I'm going to get a much shorter cooldown on my Phoenix Flames. That's some class development there, because that changed how we thought about that spell.
So I one-shot the Fire Mage Artifact Challenge because I'm the best. And I don't know how to play Fire Mage. I don't even know what any of these abilities. I only vaguely understand what Phoenix Flames does. I did it on stream. Like, what do you mean? I'm not lying. 950? No, I was only 930.
When it first started, we just had to ignore them until we went into our DPS cooldowns, right?
Huh?
We needed to give them as much time as possible to tick around that clock until they came back. Then we got this golden trait, and then it changed. Now we have the option to think about, do we want to squeeze one in? Do we want to slide that son of a bitch in? Or can't we? But we can sometimes, because it's going to reset.
Ooh.
And that added some more flavour to the class.
That's right.
That made us think about things a little more.
A little bit
Let's
different.
move on. So we went down here. Damage of Flame Strike. Boring.
Big.
Cauterizing Blink. Activating Blink
What does
heals
that
you
do?
for 20%. Holy
Oh, that's
shit,
good.
my mage
Wait,
now
what?
has a
Really?
heal.
What? So that's how I was healing. Because I was wondering why my health would go up. It's because of that. Oh, wow.
This changed the mage for me. Again, changed the mage for me. What this meant is I was far more effective when soloing content, because now I could actually heal myself up in combat. Not only that, if you've ever watched me stream and we're doing something reasonably difficult and the healer may be falling behind, you'll see me turn to a wall and blink into it. And I'm just activating the heal. I don't want Blink to just travel anymore. That's not what it's for. It's got 2 uses. Now
I like
can
that.
use it in
That's
combat
really cool.
while fighting as an actual self-heal.
Yes.
Changed everything. It's one of the saddest things I'm seeing go in BFA. Because BFA has a Nazarite trait that's like it, but considerably worse. Considerably worse. Cauterizing Blink really was a big step up for me
Like Azurite.
in playing my mage in a number of scenarios. And it made me think, and again, this is class development, made
I said ass.
me think about my Blink ability in 2 different ways. Do I want it to move, or do I actually want it for the heal? Do I want it to do both? Gave me all these options. Scorched Earth. Casting Scorch granted me 5% movement speed, stacking up to 5 times. 25% movement speed. Serious advantage, is certainly in decent quality content where you might have to move a hell of a lot. And this synergizes really well with a legendary we'll talk about later. So this was...
I wish I had watched this video at the beginning of the expansion. This would just completely change the game for me. I would want to play Fire Mage if I knew about all of these. I never read what these traits... This is really cool. And they're getting rid of it in 4 days. Yeah, this is a completely new game, guys. I'm going to reroll to a Fire Mage.
Another great advancement. Something my bare bones skeleton that we keep talking about, right? These skeletal...
Is that me? Thanks.
Layouts of classes that are just a class, some basic spells, and a talent system. This is all stuff that was being layered on top as extra options. Are they a damage increase? Not really, not directly. Are they something that's just, I do bazillion extra damage to this thing?
Ooh, that's a lot.
Are they doing something crazy to my gameplay?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
But what they are is another development, another feature of my class that I added in as I was progressing through leveling in Legion, and even maybe after hitting 110, these were things I was picking up later, and they allowed me to do some really cool things that my bare bones skeleton class and my talents can't provide.
Not good.
Moving on then. Damage dealt by Pyroblast. Fucking who cares? Fireballs, cast time, whatever. Fire Blast deals additional damage. Who cares? Critical damage. Who cares? It's just the number's gone bigger. It's the same
I don't
thing.
give a fuck.
Flame Strike calls down an additional pillar of fire each time it's cast. This was a reasonable deal for the fire mages, because at that point Flame Strike was
did the
kind
thing.
of wussy.
Okay, yeah.
We focused heavily into like Pyroblast and things like that, but this made us think a little bit more about Flame Strike. Should we use it? Which it changed how we thought about it and throwed it back in. And
Okay.
again, spiced up the gameplay, because previously we were kind of ignoring it in a lot of scenarios. Brought it back into the fold. Now our class has developed that little bit more. Now
That's
I'm going to
true.
ignore this stuff, because this comes later. That's not the point. We're talking about the first tier.
Those are the weird
of
boy wizard
Legion.
skills. Don't
So
need
all
that.
that's going on while we're leveling, and continued on for quite some time
Yeah.
into Legion. Now, we were also simultaneously, side by side, once we had hit 110, then we started looking for legendaries. And there's this, I find it very obnoxious. There's people picking and cherry picking. There's a conversation going in the comments of the original video that I posted yesterday. Cherry picking things to say, lol, this is really boring. Here's an example. So, an example might be something like Prydaz. Now, I can make a good case for Prydaz, honestly, as it's not boring and useless. Really good in high end. Prevents me from being knocked off mounts. I really like Prydaz, and as you can see, I have it in an equipment set called World Questing. But I know some people think gear swapping is elitist, so there you go. But
Think about that. People think that putting on another helmet is elitist. You don't put on another helmet because then you're an elitist. It's insane to me. It really is. It's crazy. So, The Pride As thing, Pride As is a great legendary. I think it's amazing. The only thing that people don't like about it is the fact that they would get Pride As instead of their DPS legendary. If they were able to get Pride As on top of that, it would be a great thing to have. The issue was that they shared a slot with each other.
But on the face of it, a lot of people would say, this isn't going to spice up your gameplay, it's not going to do anything fun. So people will say, yeah, but most Legos are actually really boring. Look at...
I'll tell you something right now, as I had Legos whenever I was a kid. I had every single Star Wars Lego there was. I had Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a bunch of droids, and they were not fucking boring. They were not at all. I love them.
Pride As. It's so disingenuous. You're lying to yourself to suggest that legendaries were somehow some really boring game. Not true.
No.
Of course, most of us were looking, as a fire mage, for the marquee, the bindings of the Sun King. Totally changed how you played a fire mage once you got them. Because you would be fishing for this proc that gave us this mega pyroblast. And then we would go, oh, we got the proc. Then we would go into a Rune of Power, made us think about Rune of Power differently.
Ooh.
We would then start to cast. It changed our gameplay so we could combust at the end of it and fire off this mega pyro. Spiced up and changed our gameplay completely by having this item.
I don't even know what that does.
Our class flavor and class interest grew. And people are asking and saying, is it really a problem? Is it really a problem? Is it really a problem if the base skeleton class and the abilities it has and the talent system are fine going forward? The problem is class fatigue, character fatigue. And it might not be a problem for somebody who constantly re-rolls, and they might say it's not a big deal. But many people like to be playing a character, right? They like to invest time in that character. And if you're telling me, and nobody argued this point, which I thought was really interesting, that there's no real character development at all past level 100. No one really argued that, and that's really scary. Because that's 20 whole leveling levels, plus an entire raid tier of not really much going on.
See, that's what I was talking about yesterday, about how at the beginning of the expansion, like, your secondaries are kind of low. So, like, back in the day, you would need to make sure that you have enough expertise, enough hit rating, enough kind of stuff like that. And then later on, towards the expansion, you would focus on, like, critical strike, and it would change the way that you play the character. And so, the character had its own growth built into the gear growth. Whereas now we don't have that anymore.
As far as I can see. Each step that I'm working up with this, and then alongside that working with this, is all varying up my gameplay just that little bit. All this basic structure still works of the I need crits to do pyroblasts, blah blah blah, that still all remains. But on top of that, we're adding some more interest, some more excitement, something that's keeping me fresh and engaged with my character. Similarly, and this is kind of famous at this point, is I didn't get these until the TOV. Took a long time for me to get these. So does that mean that I was scuffed, I was damaged? No. Along the way, I picked up, before any of this, the really good stuff, I got Cephas' secret. And people would go, it's not base, no. It's not true. This made me think about using my interrupts in a different way in order to gain massive benefits to DPS. I had to track it, I had to think about it. I wanted to use...
So, from a purely character developmental level, in a vacuum, that's okay. But the problem is that Cephus, if people don't remember, Cephus got nerfed. Or it got buffed like 2 or 3 times. I think it was at least twice during the expansion because it was so bad. Like, it was the reason that it was a meme that people would get it is that it was pretty much a terrible item, especially because it didn't have the best secondaries. The problem with the legendaries always had to do with the acquisition and the fact that you wouldn't be able to get the best ones, not the system itself. So I feel like it is a problem that he got Cephus instead of the bracers, because if he was playing in a guild that somebody else got the bracers instead of Cephus, and then they were outperforming him because of that, right? Assuming they were both playing at like 99th percentile, then that person's going to get a spot and he isn't. That's the problem. That was always what the issue was with the legendary system.
As effectively as I possibly could, even though it's not BIS and therefore considered by most people to be trash tier at the time. What a lie. That's just not true. It enabled me to do great things. Was it as good as getting this? No, not even close. But it was still something that I had to consider, to think about, and spiced up my gameplay. And let's look through the rest of the legendaries, because I said yesterday, I carry quite a lot of legendaries on my character. And people were saying, Yeah, but most of them are just really boring. Are they? Because you're lying. You're trying to rewrite what happened. You're trying to pretend that's not the case.
Yeah.
Let's look through then. So I have the Dragon Breath Helm. Completely changes my Fire Mage yet
I love
again.
that.
I get to
Yeah.
use talents I don't ordinarily use. I get to be massively crushing burst AoE, even further than I could already do as a Fire Mage. It increased my range so I could go through walls with the fucking thing and pull enemies from everywhere. And then really had to consider that stuff. It's not boring in the least. The Coralon's Burning Touch. Scorch deals 350% increased damage and is guaranteed a critical strike against enemies below 30% health.
That's like an
What
execute.
did this do? Totally, once again,
That's an
changed my
execute.
Fire
Yeah.
Mage. When we got into fights that were very heavy, and Fallen Avatar was a big example of this, but we used this belt a lot throughout Legion. What this meant is I could now, combined with what I had here, which was the Scorched Earth, right? I could now, at 30% health, I could spam Scorch, do massive execute damage,
and go fast.
And because I can cast Scorch on the move, I could be completely mobile.
That's
and
right.
with Scorched Earth, be fast as fuck.
Fast as fuck, boy.
A wonderful addition to the class.
It's fuck.
By just equipping this one item.
That's right.
Just equipping this one item, it gave me all this new gameplay. Same class, same basic principles. Do 2 crits, fire a Pyroblast, right? But then we had all this extra stuff and flavor. This is how it went down. And we could only equip one. And then you had things like the Shard of the Exodar, which gave me multiple bloodlusts during fights.
Yeah,
And
that
I don't
was
care
awesome.
If it's a raid leader's nightmare, because the mages don't want to cast bloodlust. I'm not interested. What
Yeah,
I am
fuck the
interested in
raid
is that
leader.
I now get to think about when I
You're
want
your
to
own
use
man.
as many bloodlusts as possible. And
Yeah.
who doesn't like being bloodlusted or having heroism?
That's right.
It's exactly so much fun. It's a hell of a
Yeah.
lot of fun in order to have access to these tools. And each combination and switch around of these, whichever one you were equipped, changed and how you thought about your character. That's class development.
That's very true.
That's what it's about. This is why the BFA traits don't inspire me just because they do more.
So this is the thing, right? Is we're losing 3 systems. We're losing that change and modify gameplay. We're losing number 1, the artifact weapons. We're losing, excuse me, number 2, the legendaries. And number 3, tier sets.
Damage. Doing more damage is fine. This is what a damage meter looks like to me playing with most people. These are people, your average guys you'll find out in the world. That's what it looks like to me. And I'm sure many of you want that as well. But when you get a damage meter result like that, I would hope that most of you feel like it's because of what you did behind the keyboard.
Ooh.
You pressed the right buttons. And it's not because a coin roll or a dice toss
Listen to this.
internally within the game gave you favorable results. I want you to feel satisfied with that, right? But that's not the end of the story.
It's RNG.
So we're leveling our artifact. We're gaming all them bonuses we talked
That's
about.
right.
We're now fishing for legendaries. We might not get
That's
our
right.
best one, but we get ones that we still get to think about, and they still absolutely
Yeah,
get
I think about Safus every single time I look up at my ceiling fan. It was fucking terrible. I hated Safus. It was like, I remember I got, like, what was the legendary I got? I got, like, Manoros Manacles. They were just useless. And I had them. It was just like, it was terrible. I hated it.
develop our gameplay. But on top of that, we're getting tier sets as well.
That's the see?
This is the Emerald Nightmare. This is tier 19. This is exactly what it is. What did I get?
9-hold, but yeah.
Enhanced Pyrotechnics provides an additional 20% critical strike chance from each application. What is Enhanced Pyrotechnics for your non-fire
That's the
mages?
fireball thing.
It's my safety net.
Yeah.
It's my built-in safety net. So that I can't run into horrible streaks as fire mages used to do, where nothing crits and I can't play the character as it's designed. How good is this? This is something
Good.
to be excited about. This isn't boring. It's not boring at all. This provided
It's true.
far more consistent and smoother gameplay, even to the point where good mages could judge whether or not their next fireball would crit, and then they could plan around that. This was all the skill ceiling going up for potentially getting
That's
that
true.
little bit better with your character. Far beyond what you did at level 90 which would be the case in BFA. It's like, it's far better than that, because we're coming forward, we've got this capped character, and now we're in the end game, which traditionally in WoW is like, you get to cap, you level up, that's your first game. Then the end game starts, then you go a bit further, and in any RPG, from Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy, as you move through your RPG, you should be getting cooler and cooler spells, better abilities, things like that. That's called your character development. That's how it grows. It doesn't just stunt sort of 2/3 through the game before you start engaging in the end game, and then kind of trickle some extra bits and stuff on top. This is what RPGs are about for me. So that was my tier set
Different
bonus,
levels of complexity
right?
and
So I got
layers
the
of
artifact
complexity.
stuff, looking for Legos, using the Legos, and getting tier sets on top of that, all of which synergize together to create a really fun and really flavorful experience.
Yes.
Our 4-piece for fire
Yes.
Hot Streak has a 10% chance to also grant you 20%
That's
haste in
fast.
seconds.
Yes.
A decent enough bonus. I have no issue with a little bit of randomness, and I think
That
this
is
is
really
where people
good.
get mixed up. Like, do you want everything to be super predictable? No, but that randomness should not be the only way to go, which is what it feels like now. It's like the bare bones of the character, and then there's a lot of randomness thrown in on top, which you have no control of, no predictability. I want to know that in nearly...
See, I think what you just said makes a lot of sense, right? Because having no control over something and having no predictability for it makes playing the game playing a slot machine. Your outcomes are not derived from your skill as a player. They're derived from being lucky that you got a proc or you didn't get a proc. And I think it diminishes the satisfaction people get out of playing well, because there's no real reward for it in the same way.
every occasion, if I need to do the best damage that my character that I've prepared and my armor, and I've sorted it out and I've worked out this is the best, if I've invested that and I need it to do its best possible damage right now, because that's going to get us through something, make everything work and do what it's supposed to do, I want that to be at my command.
That's right.
If it's capable of doing something really cool, sometimes with some randomness, fine,
Sometimes.
that's cool. We call that a moment of glory on this channel. When your character does something really awesome.
A moment
it
of
makes you
glory.
like, I want to play Fire Mage, because sometimes it'll do this crazy thing. It's not going to happen all the time. It really won't. But if it can do it, that's awesome. And we've had that historically on nearly every character throughout WoW, up until like Legion, where they took it away. They stopped people doing that for balance purposes.
If everybody can't be a winner, nobody can.
Capable of. And that's what I don't like. I just generally believe that most of your character's potential should be down to the choices you make as the player holding the fucking keyboard and the mouse. I don't think that's too weird. So
no,
that was the three things, right? That was the start. That's the accurate representation of the start of Legion. This is not made up. All right, there are, we have 4 stacks of the traits now, but they're still the same. They're still the same traits. Didn't change the traits. This is what we did. I was working through this and picking up cool stuff along the way. Simultaneously, I was picking up tier set bonuses, while simultaneously adding legendaries, adding a legendary here or there as they gradually sort of trickled in. But each of them was making me do things in a slightly different way and developing my character. That's how it really happened at the start of Legion. If you're going to say, if we jump back over to Battle for Azeroth, let's compare. So at the start
Here we go.
of the start of Battle for Azeroth,
Basil of
once I
Azeroth.
log in at 110, I won't get anything besides this.
Oh,
this
wow.
is what I will get. That's it. That's what your first quest is. When I go into a dungeon at some point, I will pick up the normal mode version of my first piece of Azerite armor.
Wow.
And eventually I'll have 3 of them. And from there, I will pick certain traits along the way. And the traits are, and I think this is completely fair. These traits, even if you stack them up, and we're going to look closer at potential, because a lot of you are like, potentially it's really good. We will look closer at that in tomorrow's video, because it's a totally separate video. They're not in the same ballpark as what I just showed you in Legion. They're not. They're not in the same ballpark.
No.
Now, can we say Legion gave us too much? I think that's fair. Sorry, my throat's dying. I've recorded this video before, and that's why it was like 45 minutes long. And I was like, 2 parts, this isn't going to happen. But all of this stuff is random. all of the stuff that I'm getting is pretty random, and the stuff that is predictable is uninteresting, such as this. My icy veins will hit harder.
Look at that mount, dude. Look at that mount, dude. Look at that mount. There it is, man. He's got 5 million gold.
Well, I'm going to press icy veins regardless, right? I mean, that's not going to happen. There's nothing particularly exciting. And I know some of you are now going to say, but Breach, some of the legendaries were baked into the talent tree. Yes, some of them were. Some of the artifact stuff was baked into the talent tree as well. And that's not good enough.
No.
And it's not good enough because in order for them to put Scorch deals extra damage and is guaranteed critical strike when the target is below 30%.
Oh, they put the legendary on the tree.
They have to push something else out.
That's right.
In order for me to have the choice of this. In Legion, I had all these and that item.
That's right.
I could swap around at will while still swapping these. That's not a choice. Phoenix Flames is now a talent, okay? But in Legion, I had Phoenix Flames and I could choose Alexstrasza's Fury or Flame On. It's a loss. Pyroclasm, which is the braces proc.
So what he's saying is basically like playing BFA is like playing a 100 Legion character, a level 100 Legion character, because you're actually losing abilities and losing functionality. I think actually the expansion would be making more sense if we went back to level 100, because we're losing abilities. It would make sense.
See,
battle for abilities. You're right. Everyone's losing.
What they've done is they've stripped out several talents to try and blend stuff together,
yes.
And it doesn't create the same gameplay that we had in Legion. It's like a half-hearted attempt to, oh, you really liked this, yes, because I just explained to you why I really liked having this. You really like the braces proc, sure. I really like the braces proc on top of having, but that's the reality of it. I liked having this on top of having the other ability. I liked having Phoenix Flames mixed in with this. Those two together was amazing. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Having to pick between one or the other, that's nowhere near as fun.
Not as fun.
How could it possibly ever be? It can't possibly match what
no
I had
fun.
previously. And the same with the braces proc. It was nice to have all access to all my talents and get the braces proc on top of that, because that created a dynamic growing gameplay. That's what it did. It aided that in many ways. So that's my number one issue. I think we've done it there. So I'm going to sit on Short Boy and say bye-bye, because just don't rewrite history. Don't do that, man. Don't make up a situation to try and suit your belief of what you want to be true, because it's not happening. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you again tomorrow when we're going to talk about the potential for Azerite Armor to be good, because it does. It does. Maybe. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
That's a big maybe.
Guys, bye-bye.
So, I thought the video was pretty good, honestly. I liked it. What did you guys think? I think it made a lot of sense. What he's saying is that BFA is taking out all of this functionality, all of these layers of complexity, and they're just like, yeah, fuck that shit. You're just going to play your character, and that's it. And I feel like that's boring, right? It is. I don't like that. So I wish that's what they would change, okay?